The film opens with Patricia running in fear, frantically searching for a place to hide as a ghost chases her. Out of nowhere, a poltergeist bursts through the wall and tries to grab her. She narrowly escapes its grasp and bolts upstairs, but the spirit manages to seize her, leaving her bruised. Just then, Patricia's mother storms in with a shotgun and blasts the entity away. The story then cuts to a newspaper office where two reporters discuss the recent string of strange deaths around town. One insists the other dig deeper, sending him off to investigate. At a funeral, Frank, who calls himself an expert on the supernatural, shows up shamelessly handing out his business cards to grieving attendees. A journalist notices him and decides he might be worth keeping an eye on for a story. Frank, however, is quickly thrown out of the funeral for being inappropriate. Upset, Frank drives off but nearly collides with a truck. Swerving, he crashes onto someone's lawn, angering the owner, Ray, who hurls curses at him. Later, Lucy, a medical worker, arrives at Patricia's home to treat her injuries. She suggests taking Patricia to the clinic, but Patricia's mother refuses, insisting she stay home. Lucy notices suspicious bruises and presses for answers, but Patricia's mother forcefully intervenes and kicks her out. Before leaving, the mother reveals that Patricia cannot go anywhere because of a dark incident in her past. A flashback then shows a disturbing crime at a hospital involving a killer named Johnny, with a 15-year-old Patricia dragged into court as a suspected accomplice. Returning to the present, Lucy realizes Patricia had a romantic connection with Johnny after seeing her in a documentary. That night, Ray kisses Lucy tenderly, but soon discovers Frank's business card among her things, sparking jealousy. Suddenly, Ray is attacked by unseen forces, wrapped in a mattress and dragged, while Lucy is lifted into the air on a levitating bed. Panicked, Lucy demands Frank's help despite Ray's protests. When Frank arrives, he inspects their home with his gun and notices a glowing number etched on Ray's forehead. Ray doesn't believe him, and angrily throws Frank out. Moments later, another poltergeist surfaces within the house walls. Back at his place, Frank's ghostly sidekicks climb out of his car trunk. He demands to know who marked Ray's forehead, but they deny knowing anything. The next morning, while Frank showers, one of the ghosts startles him, only for Frank to angrily kick him away. Another ghost suddenly bursts in with guns blazing, leading to chaos and threats of quitting their partnership. Frank begs them to stay, pointing out he'd be ruined without their help. Soon after, Frank gets an eviction notice from the bank. Desperate, he and his spectral crew target a wealthy family's mansion, orchestrating a fake haunting to secure a big payday. The ghosts terrify the nanny and nearly injure the children, but the stunt quickly spirals out of control. The frantic mother calls Frank, who shows up pretending to cleanse the house. She confronts him with a newspaper article labeling him a fraud after his behavior at the funeral. Frustrated, Frank goes to the journalist to clear his name, but she refuses to help. On his way out, he collides with a man wearing death-themed clothing, and moments later, narrowly avoids being hit by a car. He then spots Lucy in her car, visibly heartbroken. Before he can approach, the ghost of Ray rushes toward him, terrified, revealing he has died after being marked with the number. Frank reluctantly helps Ray attend his own funeral. At the cemetery, Ray breaks down as he sees Lucy grieving. He falls into the open grave as his casket is lowered, horrified at his lifeless body inside. Frank pulls him out, but the local ghost sheriff catches sight of the act and grows suspicious. Lucy begs Frank to share any message from her husband. Frank hesitates but finally relays Ray's words, convincing her he's telling the truth. Later, Lucy meets Frank at a restaurant. Curious about his ability, she asks how he can see the dead. Frank explains that a car crash 5 years ago gave him this gift. She then asks Ray through Frank about missing money. Ray sheepishly admits he lost it in a bad investment. Furious, Lucy breaks down while Frank awkwardly comforts her, further angering Ray. In the restroom, Frank notices the same death mark number glowing on another man's forehead. Before he can react, the poltergeist manifests through the mirror and kills the man by stabbing him in the chest. Frank realizes the numbers are omens of who will die next. The victim's spirit is pulled into the afterlife, leaving Frank rattled. He flees, but now the police suspect him in the killing. Meanwhile, investigators question Lucy about her connection to Frank. A detective joins in, dredging up Frank's past and accusing him of being responsible for his wife's death years ago. As the town reels from the growing number of mysterious deaths, Frank presses forward, knowing the true culprit is still out there. At the town museum, he runs into the journalist and immediately notices the glowing number 40 on her forehead. Alarmed, he tries to warn her, but she misinterprets his urgency. Before he can explain, the entity shows up. Luckily, one of Frank's ghostly allies appears just in time, firing at the spirit and temporarily driving it off. More of his spectral helpers arrive to assist, but the poltergeist quickly returns and gruesomely rips one of them in half. Desperate, Frank knocks the journalist unconscious and hauls her away as he speeds off, the spirit chasing close behind. When she wakes up, he orders her to stay low. The chase triggers memories of the accident that killed his wife, causing Frank to lose control and crash down a hillside. The shaken journalist tries to run, but Frank corners her, insisting he explain the danger she's in. Before he can convince her, the poltergeist re-emerges and kills her instantly. Her ghost appears, lashing out at Frank, accusing him of being responsible not just for her death but for his wife's as well. The following day, Frank reports the journalist's death at the police station. Instead of listening, the officers arrest him. Lucy shows up briefly but leaves shaken as Ray's ghost futilely tries to get her attention. During interrogation, Frank admits he can see spirits and recognizes death before it strikes, but the detective dismisses his claims, doubling down on the accusation that Frank is a murderer. Meanwhile, Frank's surviving ghost allies sneak into the station and urge him to escape, but he remains silent and withdrawn. The sheriff privately admits they have no real evidence against him, though the detective ignores this. At the same time, Lucy visits Frank's house, only to overhear Patricia's mother on the phone, frantically claiming her daughter is communicating with the evil one. Concerned, Lucy rushes to Patricia's home. She sneaks inside after the mother leaves, finding Patricia distraught in her bedroom. Lucy gently asks if her mother has been the one harming her, but Patricia breaks down crying, explaining that the bruises come from the entity haunting their house. Patricia reveals the curse may be linked to an urn containing her father's ashes. Her father, who took his own life after the scandal with Johnny, destroyed his reputation. Feeling crushed by guilt over being labeled Johnny's lover and accomplice, Patricia admits she only played along because she feared Johnny would kill her. Lucy reassures her, urging her to escape the house and reclaim her life. Suddenly, Patricia's mother returns, forcing Lucy to hide in the closet. As Lucy sneaks out moments later, she witnesses the poltergeist slither out of the urn and into the walls. Ray's ghost chases after it, but is viciously torn apart and hurled in front of Lucy's car. Horrified, she flees to the station to warn Frank. She insists he's innocent and tells him about the strange urn, but Frank barely reacts, numb from everything. When Lucy comforts him, Frank notices the dreaded number now glowing on her forehead. The poltergeist appears and reaches for her heart, but Frank's ghostly allies intervene, pushing it back. Lucy, overwhelmed, demands to know what's happening. The spirit attacks again, slaughtering one of the ghosts, who buys Frank and Lucy time to escape. They bump into the detective outside, but the surviving ghost fights the poltergeist long enough for them to break free. Lucy blinds the detective with a fire extinguisher, and the last ghost sacrifices himself so they can get away. In desperation, Lucy injects Frank with a drug to slow his heartbeat, essentially stopping it so his spirit can battle the entity directly. Tearfully, she locks him in a freezer, unsure if she'll be able to revive him in 20 minutes. Just as the plan is in motion, the detective storms in and holds Lucy at gunpoint, preventing her from saving Frank. Frank's spirit separates from his body and rushes to find her. He discovers the poltergeist stalking the police car carrying Lucy and pushes it away. The detective stops at a cemetery, revealing bizarre scars carved all over his body. He rambles about his twisted beliefs while Lucy secretly tries to free herself from handcuffs. Suddenly, Frank's old enemy, the ghost sheriff, drags him out of a car, causing it to crash into a wall. The poltergeist nearly seizes Lucy, but Frank arms himself with spirit weapons and fends it off. During the fight, the truth comes out. The poltergeist is none other than Johnny, the murderer from Patricia's past. Frank pursues Johnny through the cemetery, finally cornering him and seizing his scythe. He's ready to strike Johnny down, but at that very moment, Lucy revives Frank's body, pulling his soul back. Before returning fully, Frank warns Lucy about Johnny's true identity and urges her to rescue Patricia before it's too late. Lucy races to Patricia's home, determined to get her out. Patricia's mother orders her daughter upstairs, but soon Johnny's spirit manifests and whispers to Patricia about breaking records, hinting at a plan to surpass their old killing spree by numbering victims as trophies. To Lucy's shock, Patricia lights up at the idea, revealing her true nature. It becomes clear that Patricia had been lying all along. She isn't Johnny's victim, but his twisted lover, fully devoted to him. Pretending to fetch a coat, Patricia secretly plots to kill Lucy. When Lucy investigates upstairs, she finds Patricia's mother dead, soaked in blood. As Lucy turns, Patricia lunges at her with a knife. A violent struggle breaks out. Lucy nearly escapes, but Johnny intercepts her. Just in time, Frank bursts in, driving Johnny's ghost back and pulling Lucy to safety. Frank exposes the truth. Patricia has been carrying Johnny's ashes all along, not her father's, and that Johnny is the poltergeist tormenting the town. To banish him for good, they must send the ashes across to the other side. Together, Frank and Lucy race toward a church, with Patricia in hot pursuit, shotgun in hand. Their chase leads them through an abandoned hospital. Patricia tracks them to the fourth floor, firing wildly. Frank and Lucy split up in the chaos. Lucy is seized by the detective, who has lost all sense of reality, but she manages to slip away and hide in an elevator. Patricia hears it moving, and heads straight for her. Frank, meanwhile, climbs the stairs and reaches the church, where Lucy is trapped in a jammed elevator. She passes him Johnny's ashes. As Frank tries to breach the church doors, disaster strikes, Johnny's ashes spill, and the deranged detective seizes them, pouring them out carelessly. Frank is devastated. The detective smugly believes he's done the right thing, and prepares to shoot Frank, but Patricia suddenly fires her shotgun, accidentally killing the detective instead. Patricia then blasts the elevator cables, sending Lucy plunging downward. Lucy narrowly escapes, but Patricia quickly overpowers her, turning the gun on Frank. Johnny urges her to finish him, but the weapon clicks empty. Enraged, Patricia strangles Frank with the shotgun. Lucy watches in horror as Frank collapses lifeless. Patricia grabs an axe, intent on killing Lucy next, but Frank's spirit emerges, grappling with Patricia. A radiant tunnel of light opens, pulling at both their souls. Frank tries to drag Johnny into the light using Patricia as bait. All three are swallowed into the vortex. Johnny clings to Patricia as they're consumed, while Frank drifts upward, believing he failed. To his surprise, his ghostly helpers appear in the afterlife, congratulating him. Johnny and Patricia have been dragged into a hellish fate instead. The heavenly tunnel morphs grotesquely, sprouting tentacles that seize and devour the murderous lovers' souls. Frank's allies remind him that it isn't his time yet. One shoves him back, sending Frank crashing down into his body. He awakens alive once more. Lucy, relieved and overjoyed, embraces him as the nightmare finally ends. If you enjoyed the movie, make sure to hit that subscribe button and like for more recaps like these.